This is CBC Vancouver News.
Sunglasses, hats, sunscreen.
BC bakes under sweltering temperatures, bringing heat warnings and increased fire danger. Plus, searchers recover 3 bodies near Squamish, the area where a trio of climbers went missing over a month ago. And
it's also an example of wasting taxpayers' dollars.
as BC spends millions to send cancer patients to the U.S., the push for better treatment options here at home. Hello, I'm Michelle Ghoussoub. Thanks for joining us. The heat is on right across the province, with parts of the Fraser Valley seeing temperatures of 30 degrees plus, and it's only set to get warmer. A heat warning is in effect for Abbotsford, Chilliwack, and the rest of the valley. As Belpuri reports, keeping cool isn't easy, especially for those more vulnerable.
Traditional ways to keep cool are always popular. When it's 32 degrees and not even noon, it's hard to beat the heat. Residential air conditioning is in high demand.
So I've already been to 5 places today, and I can go to another dozen if I want to, but that just depends on how much energy I have left in me, to be honest, right? This equipment is all sold.
If you call for a system today, the wait is likely 3 to 4 weeks. In recent years, the need to respond to extreme heat has grown significantly in Abbotsford and across the Fraser Valley.
We are seeing increased times of mid-30 temperatures extending for many days.
Nonprofit organizations are focused on people who are homeless or live in marginal accommodations.
Sunglasses, hats, sunscreen, aftercare products like aloe vera. We provide waters and tools for people to rehydrate themselves.
The primary goal is to keep people safe from heat stroke or exhaustion and out of hospital. Abbotsford and the Fraser Valley usually deal with temperatures affected by wind moving from the mountains out to the sea. But until this heat wave, it was the other way around, and that kept temperatures fairly comfortable until this weekend. Relief is predicted by midweek.
Tuesday night, we'll see the temperatures really be right close to threshold again, and then by Wednesday, they would need to reach up to 33 degrees in order to keep the heat warning valid, but they are projected to only reach about 30 degrees.
Some say they are already feeling that change.
It seems a bit cooler than yesterday, yeah. We've got a bit of cloud cover today, and there's a bit more of a breeze, I think, today.
Designated cooling centers like public libraries are available throughout the Fraser Valley.
What we're seeing today is more people coming. I'm seeing some seniors joining us, sitting in our reading lounge today, for example. There are families coming in.
Until midweek, Abbotsford will bake with temperatures well above normal. Belpuri, CBC News, Abbotsford.
And that heat is hitting just about every part of this province. Ashcroft was the hottest place in Canada today, hitting 40.3 degrees. And with temperatures expecting to climb into tomorrow, beachgoers in Nanaimo offered tips on how to beat the heat.
We got a pool, like a little blow-up pool at home, so kind of stay in that as much as possible, or typically go somewhere that might have
Daddy,
AC.
Remember, our pool always pops.
Somebody should be hauling water and sandwiches to the homeless for sure. There's 1,000 in Nanaimo. Plus.
Yeah. I just feel sorry for the ones that don't have a resource.
Hanging out at the beach, lots of water, sunscreen, no fugazi.
Yep. Eat ice cream. Can you say it loud? Say eat ice cream. What do you like to do?
It's awesome!
Meanwhile, hot and sunny weather mixed with local emissions means an air quality advisory has been issued for Metro Vancouver. Ground level smog is expected to last a few days. Anyone organizing outdoor activities, especially for children and older adults, is asked to proceed with caution.
Ozone tends to be the highest when it's hottest and sunniest, so the early to late afternoon period. So we ask that folks postpone activities to later this evening or early in the morning if they really do need to be outside.
And conditions in the northeast of the province have spiked, with Fort St. John seeing dangerous conditions due to wildfire smoke. The severe risk is expected to last for a couple of days, but with hot and warm temperatures and no sign of precipitation, the danger could return. Mounties in Squamish say 3 bodies have been recovered from an area where 3 hikers went missing just over a month ago. The RCMP say the 3 were removed today from near Atwell Peak in Garibaldi Provincial Park. Squamish Search and Rescue says it worked with police to carry out the recovery. Mounties have been in touch with the families, and the victims' names will not be released. Officials say the climbers were last seen on May 31st. Rescue crews tried to find them, but unstable conditions and challenging weather forced them to pause in June. The coroner is now in charge of that investigation. The BC government is now sharing how much it's costing taxpayers to send cancer patients to the U.S. for treatment. British Columbia has among the highest wait times for radiation therapy in Canada. As Katie DeRosa reports, it sparked yet another debate about the role of private health care.
The price tag to send cancer patients to Bellingham, Washington for radiation therapy has hit $16 million so far. Of that, $13 million has gone to 2 private American cancer clinics, which have treated just over 600 British Columbians in the last year.
This is not only, to me, hypocritical, it's also an example of wasting taxpayers' dollars.
Vancouver Dr. Brian Day spent years fighting the BC government in court over private health care. He runs the private Cambie Surgery Centre, which was at the centre of a 14-year-long legal battle over whether patients should be able to pay for services covered by BC's medical services plan.
They basically spent tens of millions of dollars opposing private options in Canada, and yet are supporting private options in the United States. This makes no sense.
A spokesman for Canadian Doctors for Medicare says while he's glad patients are getting speedier access to cancer care, BC should not be relying on the U.S. to do that.
I think it's a tragedy that in a country as wealthy as ours, that we're not able to provide care to our patients in our own country.
But Mitchell claims the private system Day was advocating for through the court challenge would not help everyday British Columbians get better care.
The Supreme Court of British Columbia found that the system that he was proposing would lead to a system where ability to access care was contingent on ability to pay. And these patients that are going to Bellingham are receiving their care free of charge. They are receiving it funded by the public system.
Health Minister Adrian Dix stressed the Bellingham program is a temporary measure over the next 2 years while the province builds 4 new cancer centres in Surrey, Kamloops, Burnaby and Nanaimo.
The reason we're in Bellingham is to ensure that people are protected in the meantime.
Dr. Claudine Stornis-Bliss, a doctor at Surrey Memorial Hospital and BC United candidate for Surrey Cloverdale, says if her party forms government in the fall election, it would increase the use of private medical clinics to deliver publicly funded health care. She claims the NDP's refusal to do so puts patients at risk.
They are putting ideologies ahead of patients. They are already using private clinics, both in BC and in Washington State. They are just not using it to its full capacity.
While there are signs the wait to see an oncologist in BC is getting shorter, the province continues to have one of the longest waits in the country for radiation treatment. Katie DeRosa, CBC News, Victoria.
To an update now in the Tory Dun case. She's the young woman who was killed inside her home in Surrey 3 weeks ago. The man accused in her murder is also accused of a violent crime that happened just a few weeks earlier, and court documents reveal he has an extensive criminal record. Tory's family believes she would still be alive if that suspect had been held in jail for previous charges, and now they're starting a petition calling for stricter bail laws in Canada.
It's too late for my daughter right now, unfortunately, and but it's maybe save somebody else's child or daughter or niece or wife or whatever. You know, it's things have to change. This is a crime that didn't need to happen. It should never have happened. Nonetheless, my daughter's not with us anymore.
CBC News has asked BC's Attorney General for a response on the family's petition, but has yet to hear back. The redevelopment of Burnaby Hospital is moving forward as Fraser Health and the Provincial Health Services Authority choose a construction team.
You're seeing really the wrapping up over the next 6 to 8 months of phase one, this extraordinary project in Burnaby to transform this hospital from a hospital that has outstanding staff that serves the community to a modern hospital that will serve the people of Burnaby for decades to come.
The second phase of the project will include building an acute care tower. It will be home to a new cancer center, along with rooms for general medicine and other departments. Construction is expected to start late next year and be ready for patients by 2030. At the same time, 4 BC interior hospitals closed their emergency departments this weekend because of a lack of staff. 3 have since reopened, but the emergency department at Nicola Valley Hospital in Merritt will stay closed until 8 a.m. tomorrow. Patients are being asked to go to other hospitals some hours away by car.
It doubles the distance for a lot of people who are living on the fringes of those communities. People within those communities are not going to have the highest level of care that they need for a specific condition.
It's just the latest in a years-long string of emergency department closures in rural BC because of staffing shortages. Last year, the Nicola Valley Hospital had more than 10 emergency room closures alone, while in 2022, emergency rooms at 13 rural BC hospitals were closed for about 4 months combined. And just this afternoon, Interior Health announced it had closed the emergency department at Dr. Helmkin Memorial Hospital in Clearwater from now until 7 a.m. on Tuesday because of a nursing shortage. Well, if you drink almond, oat, coconut, or other kinds of beverages, there's a warning tonight. The Canadian Food Inspection Agency has issued a recall alert for a variety of plant-based refrigerated drinks. It says 18 varieties of Silk and Good Value beverages may be contaminated with listeria. The agency says contaminated food may not look or smell spoiled, but can still make you sick. You can find a full list of recalled products on the Health Canada website. Residents and neighbours of a Surrey apartment complex protested outside a council meeting in Surrey tonight, speaking out against what they call a demoviction from their homes.
Stop the war on the poor, make the rich pay.
Demonstrators were joined by housing advocacy union Acorn outside Surrey City Hall. The council voted to rezone the area around 104 Avenue to build 2 high-rise apartment complexes. It'll mean tearing down Elizabeth Manor, where around 50 low and fixed income families currently reside. While BC's jobless rate continues to hover around 5%, some groups are finding it hard to find work, and that includes Black and South Asian Canadians. Michelle Morton has more on those findings.
At Edmonds Station, Amir Hidari is on his way to catch the bus to go to a job interview.
I already have like 1 job right now at the moment, but the thing is the expenses is getting higher and higher like every month.
But he says the job hunt has not been easy.
I apply like online for so many jobs, like in different cases, construction, restaurant. I applied for like different jobs for like a month or 2 months, and I didn't get any answer.
Hidari is not the only person finding it difficult to find work. An analyst with Statistics Canada says among Black and South Asian Canadians, the unemployment rate increased at a faster rate than it did for the overall population.
A lot of it is related to immigration. We know that those 2 groups have more recent immigrants than, some other groups. And those people sometimes face barriers such as not having their educational attainment, recognized in the same way. They may also have less work experience in Canada.
He says for Black Canadians between the ages of 25 and 54, last month the unemployment rate went up by 4.4 percentage points from the same time last year. For South Asian Canadians, the rate rose by 1.7 percentage points. As for how BC compares to the national average, Field says the unemployment rate for Black residents is slightly higher, but double compared to last year. For South Asian residents, the rate has stayed steady.
One challenge of finding work is some people experience a language barrier.
What kind of job are you trying to get right now?
Caregiving. I've applied even for law jobs, but I haven't gotten any.
Do you have experience in those fields?
Yeah, I do.
To find a job, it's really difficult. I didn't have any experience at first. Yeah. So in any particular section. So yeah, that's make that difficult.
That desire for experience, a big reason Hidari says he's often rejected.
They always mention that I don't have that much experience and they need somebody who has experience and know how to finish the job.
The province says in a statement in part, it supports BIPOC workers through various programs through Work BC and will continue to closely monitor changes to unemployment and work with partners as needed. Michelle Morton, CBC News, Vancouver.
Pro-Palestinian protesters have decamped from UBC's Point Grey campus. Students have been protesting the Israel-Hamas war since late April and said last week that they remained committed to pressuring schools to end financial and academic ties with Israeli companies and institutions. UBC says it remains committed to respectful dialogue with student protesters. The BC NDP stalwart and former cabinet minister has died. Bob Williams was 91.
The message is that we care about this province and we think it can be run a different way in terms of serving the people rather than just a few interests.
Williams served in BC's first NDP government under Premier Dave Barrett from 1972 to 1975. He's credited with helping build ICBC, the Agricultural Land Reserve, Robson Square and Whistler Town Centre. Before provincial politics, Williams was a planner in Delta and served on Vancouver City Council. Premier David Eby called Williams a giant who helped shape the province from BC Housing to Surrey Central and the C-Bus. Williams died on Sunday at St. Paul's Hospital after a long illness. Well, it's not just Canada feeling the heat right now. After the break, a look at south of the border, where dangerous temperatures are still rising. It's not just BC feeling the heat right now. South of the border, 36 million people are under excessive heat warnings. And as Susan Ormiston reports, that heat is still building.
1, 2, 3.
A curious fascination posing to mark record-breaking heat.
You know, how many people in the world can say they've been to the hottest place in the world? It's almost like climbing Mount Everest.
Death Valley in California, aptly named,
131.
broke through 100 years of heat, notching above 55 degrees.
I just thought it was so cool. I had to bring my nephews too.
But it's not cool.
June 2024 is even warmer than June 2023 by a substantial margin.
Copernicus, the climate monitoring service, warns we're on a precipitous road, now experiencing a full year of global temperatures rising at or above 1.5 degrees Celsius.
It doesn't mean that we have breached that limit set by the Paris Agreement, but it clearly shows that we are getting closer to this limit.
Las Vegas topped 48 degrees Sunday, shattering records as the heat wave baking 10% of Americans pushed into this week.
Make sure you're in the shade if you can be. Don't be walking out here because a lot of people can just fall out. Stay hydrated.
Volunteer veterans in Oklahoma installed air conditioners and fans for people at risk. In Seattle, a hardware store reported a run on fans.
I think I'm going to buy this.
Fires already threatening in California could grow as firefighters work under intense heat to try to control them. Scientists say the streak of record heat is propelled by emissions from burning fossil fuels and last year's El Nino weather pattern.
I like to make the analogy of a furnace. So your house isn't warmest when the furnace first comes on. When the El Nino begins to develop, it's warmest when the furnace has been running.
That furnace and the lack of a cooling effect at night is forecast to linger in the U.S. and Canada for much of the week. Susan Ormiston, CBC News, Toronto.
You're looking at a live shot of the Port of Vancouver. Darius will have your full forecast next.
Hi, I'm Amy Bell, and here's what's in your CBC Vancouver inbox.
CBC returns as a media partner of the Surrey Fusion Festival, July 20th to the 21st. The festival features over 50 cultural pavilions that will incorporate the theme of landmarks of the world into their displays. For more information, visit surreyfusionfestival.ca. And never miss a special programming series, event, or contest. Subscribe to CBC Vancouver's e-newsletter and keep connected with us.
The weather update is brought to you by Direct Buy Furnace. To cool and clean the air in your home, call Direct Buy Furnace. Installing Trane, the most reliable heating and cooling brand.
Our Darius Madavi joins us now for a look at the forecast. Darius, it's just been so hot. Can we expect these temperatures to continue into the weekend?
It really depends where you are. For the Northwest, we're going to start to see that ridge of high pressure that's bringing these temperatures recede a little bit. We get a little bit of potentially some showers into parts of the Northwest, maybe down to parts of the North Coast. But generally for southern BC, the ridge of high pressure is here for the long haul. The sunny conditions are here for the long haul. So be prepared for a long stretch of hot and sunny weather to come. If we take a look at the fire danger, we'll see that that's skyrocketed compared to last week. Last week, this map was mostly green and blue. Now it's almost entirely orange, and I'd expect these little pockets that are still holding out to turn orange tomorrow. So we'll have another look at that tomorrow. Also, as something that we have to be concerned about again are the smoke conditions. Now, fortunately, right now, the winds are going to blow the wrong way for much of the island, southwestern BC, to see that smoke. But up in the northeast, conditions are continuing to worsen. We're going to see some extreme smoke conditions, especially into tomorrow. For some people up here, we saw today that the air quality was worse than places like Beijing and Delhi. So it is a very serious situation in terms of that smoke, but be aware that if you have a choice between keeping safe from the heat and keeping safe from smoke, choose to keep safe from the heat because it is a more immediate danger. We saw there precipitation, none expected in the near future. Temperatures continuing to build into tomorrow. That's probably the peak for many people, but I hear people saying that's the end of the heat wave, and that's not true. Just look at the southern interior. Temperatures still hovering right in the 30s. We're going to easily see places like Kamloops just come down from 39 to 37. Still a heat wave, still dangerous conditions, so please stay careful there. In terms of conditions tomorrow, again, it's an easy forecast. Nothing but sunshine across the board. Several places going to hit 40. We saw some of that today, especially in places like Lytton, but going to see probably more places hit 40 tomorrow before starting to moderate a tiny bit on Wednesday. And again, nothing but sunshine here. Maybe a little bit of high cloud tomorrow in Vancouver, just like we saw today. But generally, Michelle, it's the story. It's sunny, it's hot, and it's going to stay sunny and hot for a while.
Okay, we know that fire danger increases with the heat, so we'll be tracking that as well. Thank you, Darius.
Thank you.
And that is your late news for Monday. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. For news anytime, visit our website. That's cbc.ca/BC. Your next local news is on the early edition on CBC Radio 1, and that starts tomorrow morning at 5:30. Good night.